Round 1. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
Hungry gamers.
Hello, and welcome, boys and girls, to the 182nd episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by 8bit.net and those sexy legends over at Audio Technica. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit. And the Jessica Chobot to my Greg Miller, Miss Sally Hart. How you doing for episode 182 of THG?
I'm absolutely flattered by that compliment there, Jessica Chobot. I would have thought I was more of a Greggy, just being an absolute dork, and I enjoy eating, but I guess that's any of us at the 8-bit group, really, isn't it?
It doesn't really narrow it down much, does it? It's a very broad stroke description that could be apt for most of the people we deal with. So,
it's true. I'll take Jessica Chobot.
Yeah, she's a good operator. You know, all you got to do, you just got to dye that hair a little bit lighter. But she has had a few years of dark hair, so... Oh, she's dark again.
She's dark, yeah, dark hair again.
See? So, full spoilers, I did not watch the DICE Awards yesterday. So, yeah, there's my real truth for the weekend. But, yeah, episode 182, back in the duo session this week. Thanks again to Jack Cruz for jumping on episode 181. It was a ton of fun to have him back behind the microphone with us, talking all the video games. But, yeah, full disclosure, episode 182, we're going to try and make this a bit of a tighter, more focused episode because we are a little bit time sensitive. But I guess first and foremost to yourself and as well all the listeners out there, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Day of love, and everyone feels either extremely special or extremely alone. But just remember, people, a day doesn't validate you. It's mostly commercial and for people who love to show off all the things in their life to show it off. And, you know, the rest of us can just enjoy life as it is. So don't let the day get you down, kids.
100%. And it's funny, like, I see the contrast. I was, like, at work during the week and talking to a few of my sort of colleagues there. And I'm like, what do you got planned for Valentine's Day? And one of my sort of close workmates there who's been with his partner, I think, for 14 years, they've never celebrated Valentine's Day. He sort of forgot it was even coming up. So I'm like, do you get your partner, like, flowers or chocolates or whatever? He's like, no, don't really do anything. Talk to one of the other guys. Do you do anything? No. You go anywhere? No. So it's good to see that people can still survive. So as, like, sort of jumping on the back of what you said, don't feel that you're invalid because you're not doing anything or you don't have a partner or the partner is just around the corner, because it's just a day at the end of the day where Hallmark are making all this cash for their romance cards and, you know, florists, it's the boon time of year for florists.
Which is a
say
rip-off.
that from personal experience.
It is a rip-off. I'm sorry. Speaking as a female and, like, who should be a receiver of flowers, I'm going to tell people, just stop it. I don't care what your partner says. Stop flowers. It's expensive and they die in, like, a week, maybe less.
It really is. Give
your partner a potato. At least that will possibly grow, or it can turn into something delicious.
100%. You know, it's like a Swiss Army knife. It's got a lot of utility, a potato. You can do a lot of things with it. Just don't mash it and give it to your partner, because that could lead to divorce.
Only in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's true. I'll tell you what, if Rach gave me mashed potatoes for Valentine's Day, there would be trouble. Someone would be on the couch and it wouldn't be me. That's for damn sure. But anyway, moving on. Let's talk about what we've been doing this week. Sadly, I haven't had a chance to play Table Manners. I've got my hands on a copy. I've installed it on Steam, but haven't got around to playing it because this Apex bug has firmly bit me on the behind.
Where is the invite, son?
So much. I know. It's just because I've been playing late at night, and I know you'd be sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, haven't had a chance to sort of sneak in a few games here or there, like in the morning or like late afternoon or anything like that. It's just night sessions. So been playing a bit, getting better. I think we've got five or four season 4 wins so far.
Nice.
So getting there, getting a few W's. My aim is slowly but surely improving, but man, I was raging last night. Like, they're running a limited Valentine's Day sort of theme experience at the moment, where you can, like, duos are back, so you and your Apex partner can get double XP, as well as ascend up the duo ranks together for the next week. I think it ends on the 19th or thereabouts for people in the US, and 18th here for Australia, if I recall. So it's a pretty cool way to get some XP and get them levels up. But no wins in duos, few wins in standard squads, but just loving it. I'm just the bug, the itch is back. I've been bitten. All those tropes, all those stereotypes, I've got them all right now. And I'm loving some Apex Legends.
Oh, I just need to know, now that you're really into it and you've grinded out, you got some wins, has your main changed, or have you been switching it out? Like,
it's tough. Like, I have been jumping around. Like, was playing a bit of Revenant, obviously, because he's the new hotness. Mm-hmm. But my sort of rotation that I've sort of narrowed it down to now is Lifeline, Wraith, Bangalore, or Revenant. They seem to be the four, but I've sort of settled, the last couple of nights I've settled on Wraith. So I'm just trying to get good with her, just trying to use her little warp ulti she can utilize, sort of work out best ways to use that, work out the best ways to use her little cloaking ability, and just try and get better as playing in that play style. My aim on certain guns, I've realized, you think it should be consistent gun-to-gun aiming, but it really isn't. Like, there's a few guns I use where I may as well be just throwing abusive words at someone to try and hurt them, because I can't hit shit with certain guns. And clunky. God, it makes me so angry, especially with shotguns. Like, shotguns, it's, it's spray and pray, bullet spread and everything like that. But it doesn't seem to be reflective at times, especially with an EVA 8. Like, it's an automatic shotgun, and I couldn't hit the side of a barn yesterday in a 2v1. Like, I dropped down one, and I was popping this other dude from. It felt like he was 3 meters away from me, and I couldn't lay even one hit marker on him, and I was getting so angry, and I swore so much. It was not good. But anyway, I'm still enjoying the game.
That's good.
Have you been playing much?
No, I kind of had I've really haven't been able to jump on as of lately. This actually kind of moves on to what I've been playing. I actually switched on the Xbox. Anyone that follows me on social media would have seen the post of me saying, I actually turned on my Xbox and loaded it up because this sucker has been paying for Game Pass and hasn't been using it.
I saw this. I nearly spat my coffee out in the morning when I saw that on your Instagram stories. I'm like, lies. This is not the Ali Hunt we know. What is going on here?
Quickly, call the cops. She's been kidnapped or something, brainwashed. But it was actually a bit of a hassle to kind of switch it on and, update and figure everything out and, kind of get it back to where it should be. And I was going to play Apex on the Xbox, but then I figure, I'm so used to playing it on PC, so I don't want to have to readjust, because I do mouse and keyboard on PC. So I thought, I'll stay away from Apex on the Xbox just so I can keep some consistency. So then that's when I kind of went through all the games on Game Pass.
There's so many,
and so many good ones. So many that I've missed out on. The Witcher is on there as well, which I kind of looked at. And there's a bunch on there. Oh my god, I almost downloaded Sunset Overwatch just for shits and giggles. But Sunset Overdrive, sorry.
Yeah.
But
maybe you're thinking 2 games. Maybe you saw Sunset Overdrive sitting beside Overwatch and you're like, download them both.
No Overwatch. But still, the amount of games you get for that Game Pass is incredible. I feel so stupid that I haven't been using it at all until now.
Yeah, so. I know it's something that we highlight pretty regularly on the show, but maybe we don't emphasize just how good it is. For the price. For anyone, especially that is a little bit, light or more conscious of their wallet, it is a great way to get a ton of games at your fingertips, playable anytime, and a lot of them are, well, obviously with the Xbox exclusives or the Microsoft, I should say, exclusives, they're day one released and available instantly. But you get a lot of these cult classics and a lot of these big AAA titles for $10-11 a month. It's the best.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the best thing is that it's also, like you said, a bunch of new releases, a bunch of older titles, and just all different kinds of genres. It almost has that that kind of Netflix issue though, where sometimes having so much choice kind of leaves you paralyzed on picking something, because you're like, I could play this, or I could start that, or I could start this. But eventually I saw a game that had been on my radar. I can't remember if I saw it at E3 or if I saw it on like a Nintendo Direct or where I saw it, but it was a little trailer for a game called Felix the Reaper.
It looks crazy. Like it's only been out a few months. I think I saw it at some conference. Same with you in one of those, maybe the indie sizzle reels that they throw out there.
Yeah, it was
but
very.
Tell
quick.
me about it. I'm loving the art style. It's like a puzzler. You're playing Felix the Reaper, who is the bringer of death, and he loves to dance, right?
Yeah. It's that was like my whole appeal because he kind of reminds me of that character from what is it? It's the Disney or Pixar movie Big Hero 8, the big blobby guy. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of him, but he's a Reaper. And he dances. He's got like a little cassette Walkman and some headphones. So while he's doing his job of like, bringing death, he's constantly like got these like cool moves and dancing. So what the game is, it's a 3D puzzler, and you've essentially got to like sort out these puzzles so you can line up an incident. So when you appear, time freezes in this puzzle world. You're only allowed to go on shadowed spaces. If you hit areas of light where the sun touches, you get hurt. So you're manipulating shadows to create paths so that you can set up essentially the situation which gets someone killed. So once you complete the puzzle, the whole plan lays out and you watch someone die or get attacked or, move on to the next step, which eventually leads to death.
It's kind of cool. It's like, hear that play out, it sounds like it's almost reverse Dexter. Like you're not trying to reverse engineer how the person died. You're the artist that's sculpting this scene and putting it all together. And I've been watching a few trailers and things like that, and it's cool that once you get all these objects and things that cause the incidents in a row, and it plays it out in full, and you can see your hard work realized. It's so quirky. The art is great. Yeah,
it is. The art's fantastic. The music is kind of good. Like, I thought it was going to be probably a bit more boppy and jazzy, like, because of his dancing is so groovy. But, the music's fine. It doesn't, like, get irritating in any sense of the matter. But essentially the story behind the character is he's in love with a character that brings life. So what the developer of this game said, it's a story about like life and death, and the reason your Reaper wants to become a Reaper because he goes to the main world and he just assumes, because life and death go hand in hand, he will see his love called Betty, who is a bringer of life. Yeah, she's they always draw her quite curious, very like pin-up.
Okay.
Yeah, so but the game is very comical. It's not like dark and serious. It's a very comical, lighthearted game. I'm not a puzzle person, so for me, I've reached struggle street many times during this game, but I've just continued and persevered through it. So, it's a part of Game Pass. So if you've got Game Pass, I definitely recommend giving it a go, especially if you want something different, if you're not a puzzler kind of person. It's adorable, it's sweet, and I just think give it a go, have a look at the trailer, look at it online, see if it might be something that interests you.
It looks cool. It looks like something that would be out of a Tim Burton universe.
Yeah.
Like, it's just these quirky looking characters, really cool, vibrant art style. Can I ask the controls? Like, you're playing an Xbox, so it's stick controls?
Yeah.
Or is it sort of, okay, because I think on PC it's almost you can do point and click as well, but...
I wouldn't be surprised. Essentially, yeah, you are taking the character of Felix and you're kind of like pointing him in the place that you need him to go to either pick up an item, move an item. You also have, for using a controller, you use the bumpers to manipulate shadow. So like,
okay.
so you manipulate like the situation of the earth. So sometimes the sun won't be on you, but you have to manipulate it so the sun is in a different direction and it moves the shadow so you can go to a different path.
So you got like this day-night cycle that you can mess with time.
Yeah, it's mostly like more like moving like the earth or the sun direction. You don't really have night and day. But yeah, it's about manipulating where the shadow paths go, because items sometimes can contrast the shadow, placing it down, but it's all about setting the path through shadows. But sometimes you have to have a sunlight in one area, sometimes you got to have shadow in another area. That's generally where you run into a lot of issues in doing this puzzle, where pathways suddenly just disappear or just become difficult.
It looks great, and apparently, as per the sizzle reel on Steam, 50 plus levels at your disposal to find your beloved, and very unique worlds for each of these death scenes. You can see sort of deserty ones, ice capped areas, sort of forestry areas. And Kong Orange, the developer, this almost looks like it's just about their first game. Like, I can't see any other listings from them on Steam, and they've got like another game called Heartbeats, a Galactic Requiem that almost looks like a visual novel. So this is their first real major foray into game development by the looks of things. So it's cool to see, and very positive reviews on Steam. So I think they're doing well.
Yeah, like I said, if you've got Game Pass, definitely check it out. It's at no cost to you. And if not, just check it out online, see if it's your kind of thing.
Hell yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to get to play this on Game Pass. Like, it's free for me, so I got nothing to hold me back except a bit of time playing Table Manners this week as well, and probably more Apex, and getting angry and having burst blood vessels in my eyes and a big pulsing vein down my forehead, and oh my god, it's those battle royale games, just the elevation of stress is something that you don't really think about until you're in those games, but my goodness, it's probably not good for my ticker, that's for sure.
For me, it's more like, I feel like, especially with battle royales, like it's certain people, they get certain triggers. I get like a hysterical, like adrenaline trigger. Like I just start laughing. Like for me, it's just like just high paced like laughter. Like I'm like, like I suck, and my team probably hates me, but this is a blast. I love it. And then other people... I need
to take a leaf out of your book.
Well, some people like get really anxious playing it because they feel like a lot of pressure. And then there's people like you who just absolutely rage out. So I feel like people approach them like very differently. People don't like to play with me because I don't take it too seriously. So,
but I think that's a good way to play. I need to get like that. Well, I don't take it always fully seriously. I just got to tone down my my anger levels. That's for damn sure. Because this game triggers me more than most.
Really? Even more than Overwatch?
Yeah, more than Overwatch. I need to take a leaf out of is it Zenyatta? I need to take a leaf out of Zenyatta's book there and get into Zen and get a full spiritual cleansing happening, because it's probably not good for me long term. That's it. And if you guys are looking for more tranquility, 8-Bit Day has come and gone, and with that, a heap of tranquil new content. So head on over to 8bit.net and you can see the latest podcasts which are joining the stable. The Inconsolables, longtime friends of ours based all across the Australias, has finally jumped on board with us. And we've also had a new upstart called Welcome to Knob Switch, which is a Monster of the Week style D&D oriented live action roleplay that has our very own Benny on board. Kaz helms that show with a couple of other very talented personalities from the video game and geek culture space here in Australia. We also announced Han Rolled First, which is our live-action Star Wars D&D playthrough, which is getting DM'd by none other than NATO, and also starring myself, Benny, Jono, Jack, and Salim the Dream, who is back on the mic playing a slimy government official. So, clearly he didn't have to roleplay much for that role. That's for damn sure. And the last announcement as far as new content, the Hungry Game Show kicks off in March. So it's going to be a fortnightly offshoot on the same RSS feed as the Hungry Gamers, just to make it easy. But every 2 weeks, I'll be hosting a one-shot game show, sort of Q&A trivia session with various members of the 8-Bit Collective, as well as various members of the gaming world as a whole. And we are going to be focusing on their potential specialized game or favorite game. And I'm going to theme that game show to their gaming kink. And we're going to see who can make their way up the top of the scoreboard. And at the end of the season, maybe they will win something, but most probably not. But 4 podcasts joining the stable. Check it out. Now is the time to get on board with a lot of new content. 8bit.net or 8bitnation.net for all your links. And be sure just to rate, review, subscribe those podcasts just to get them tracking early and often, because that can help really bring on a lot of new listeners and a lot of new fans for these shows. It's the lifeblood. And thanks to everyone who has been checking out the Hungry Gamers lately as well. We have been charting really well as of late, even in random places such as South Africa. So thank you to our listeners over there in Joburg and the surrounds. It really means a lot that you are checking out the Hungry Gamers. But yeah, be sure to rate, review, subscribe us as well as all the other podcasts in the hashtag 8-Bit Collective because it truly means the world. But let's get into some news, shall we?
This week's news headlines.
All right, and one last shout out. Just wanted to thank everybody in the 8-Bit Discord for helping us out with this week's news. You are the real MVPs, slinging us some nice little news nuggets for us to tackle here on the show. It was a nice way to unpack a few things and also get some coverage and awareness on some things that may have missed our radar this past week because there's a lot of news out there. So appreciate that, and be sure to join our Discord. Best way to do that is obviously 8bitnation.net, and there's a direct link straight to the Discord there. Jump on. Get in the Discord, have a chat, have a laugh, get amongst it. But all right, first bit of news. The first gameplay details and an epic trailer was shown for co-op sci-fi looter shooter Outriders. Ooh. Did you check out this trailer this week? Did you miss it?
I missed the trailer. However, my social media has been absolutely flooded with this title. Like, I think even like Twitch as a platform were advertising it and pushing it through, but then just certain members of like the gaming community that I follow on social media, they went to like promotional events, they've been pumping it, they've been talking about it, so they're going pretty ham on this one.
Yeah, like it's a fantastic trailer. It's sort of like some descriptions and crossovers that I've sort of seen mentioned. It's like Doom meets Gears of War meets the monsters from Lord of the Rings type of thing. So, yeah, so People Can Fly is the developer behind this. They did Bulletstorm for anyone that's looking for something that was released semi-recently to sort of know what they're up to. And the game itself, it's a dark third-person cover-based shooter set in a brutal, nightmarish world that ticks all the usual light RPG boxes as far as classes, skill trees, customization, and rarity-based loot acquisition. So, you know, it's something it looks great. The opening trailer and then some of the trailers showing the world and the story of Outriders, it's really cool. You know, Earth was dying, so humanity has sort of moved out into space. They land on this random planet. Various things on the planet consume the humans and then sort of turn them into like meta-humans almost, where they've got abilities and things, and also mutate some of the wildlife for the worse as well. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. Think of like Avatar, I guess, on steroids with a little bit more blood and guts and maturity attached to it. So it's really cool. Anyone that hasn't checked it out, I'd really recommend checking out the sort of launch trailer that dropped this week. And then there's also like, I think 15 minutes of gameplay shooting around the internet now as well, and then also some backstory fleshing out with world and sort of story diaries from the developers themselves. So I'm keen. This thing looks great.
I'm just looking at the thumbnails now, and now a lot of things are actually making sense. So to no surprise to anyone, I follow a lot of content creators that are very Destiny involved. And I'm just like looking at the thumbnail, and I'm like, I've seen mention a few times, and I can see where some people are trying to make connections to Destiny with this title. So it looks like there's a few different like subclasses that you might be able to choose. So graphically, it looks really, really beautiful. But obviously, we'll see what comes of it in result. So I might look into this a little bit more.
It looks really cool. Obviously, the sort of camera angle, it looks like it's almost cut from a Gears mold, like it's that over the shoulder third person, really tight quarters directly over your character's shoulder sort of style view. But yeah, I can see those Destiny comparisons, and that's not a bad thing. Destiny's a hell of a game. The loot shooter sci-fi RPG thing, they've got that down pat. So yeah, I'm keen to see what more of this happens. It's slated for release holiday 2020, so it's going to be releasing on current consoles as well as the Series X, the PlayStation 5, and PC as well. So this might be one of those day one pickups in parallel with the next gen console, which I'm excited for.
Yeah,
I'll be playing the shit out of this on my Series X.
PlayStation 5.
Yeah, that too. It's going to be a very expensive Christmas. Very expensive Christmas.
Very expensive.
But yeah, People Can Fly and Outriders. I'm keen. Something else that I'm very keen for, and as mentioned before, this was highlighted to us on the Discord as well, so thank you to that. There is a free Last of Us 2 dynamic theme currently available on the PlayStation Store. It showcases Ellie and changes from day to night based off the PlayStation's internal clock. Ooh. So that day-night cycle does change, as well as the overall look and feel of this theme on your PlayStation, depending on if it's AM and PM. If you are here in Australia, you can use the code 9DEK-PKNGN445 to get access to the code. There's also codes for the US and the other Asian regions as well. Maybe just jump on and Google to grab those. I don't want to chuck another couple of codes on here to muddy up the show, but it is available, and that code will be valid, from what I saw, until February of 2021. So It isn't something you need to act on immediately, but I would do it because it is a very, very great looking little theme, and it can mix up that home dashboard.
I love me a dynamic theme. I love that PlayStation has had those. I have dropped money to have a nice dynamic theme on my PlayStation homepage. Yeah, I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointed when I loaded up my Xbox and realized all you can do is
the back image.
Yeah.
And how transparent the tiles are in front of that image, so you can see more of it or less of it.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that's something that they fix up.
But one thing that Microsoft does great is the avatars. Your sort of Xbox avatars. They are fantastic, and that's one thing I've always loved with Microsoft and Xbox, is just that little layer of customization that PlayStation doesn't have. Obviously, you've got your little icon, your little thumbnail on PlayStation, but Xbox go above and beyond that and fully customized, posable, movable avatars. I saw your latest iteration, very true to form. It
was a little too uncanny. I had a lot of messages from people just laughing and saying, like, a little too accurate, don't you think? And I'm like, well, don't know. This says a lot about me. If you want to see it, I posted it on my social media. So
hell yeah, at Miss Ellie Hart, check it out. All right, the next bit of news: Drew Karpyshyn, lead writer of Mass Effect 1 and 2, has joined Archetype Entertainment. And this is the new studio started by Wizards on the Coast that we mentioned on episode 180. So they are really scaling up their staffing and plundering as many people from BioWare as they can. He's a good hire. Like, Mass Effect 1 and 2 are debatably some of the best games in BioWare's entire stable, especially number 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So having the lead writer from some massive big sci-fi RPGs jumping on to helm their as yet untitled sci-fi RPG is only going to be a good thing. Yeah,
this can only be just one big fuck you, or like just someone just, filling their belt with the best of the best. Too many cooks though?
Maybe. And maybe that could have been the downfall on the back end with some of the other inner workings at BioWare with Andromeda and the like. So who knows? I guess we'll find out in the coming months, or more appropriately probably the coming years, as far as what this game's about and how it's going to come. But yes, another big loss from BioWare. And on that same train of thought, Anthem is getting a major overhaul, and this is confirmed by BioWare this past week. And here's just a little bit of news by Matt Kim at IGN. BioWare General Manager Casey Hudson announced in a new blog post that the developers of BioWare will be redesigning Anthem that will reinvent, in quotes, the core gameplay loop. This effort is meant to be a larger overhaul for Anthem instead of just a series of updates and expansions. In an official BioWare blog post, Hudson thanked readers for 1 year of Anthem, a game he says represented a big leap into new territory for us as a studio. Hudson acknowledged that since launch, there has been critical feedback from fans saying Anthem needs a more satisfying loot experience, better long-term progression, and a more fulfilling endgame. Over the coming months, we'll be focusing on a longer-term redesign of the experience, Hudson said, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting, end quote. So you can't really fault Casey Hudson and BioWare for, I guess, putting their hand up and sort of, my bad, this game is not what I guess we anticipated it to be, or maybe it was, but we just didn't think this was going to be the feedback we'd be receiving. Yeah. So they're going to dip into their pockets, shell out a lot of money in development and retooling this game from the ground up to see if it can maybe get life in year 2 or maybe year 3, because they didn't really outline when this change is going to happen. They do say over the coming months, but does that mean just the development cycle's kicking in over the coming months, or we're going to see these redesigns reflected in the game by maybe mid of this year? What do you think about this? You think this is too little too late, or you think there's still hope for Anthem?
Look,
what do you feel?
I kind of feel like this statement from Hudson actually comes off the article, which kind of pointed out that the Christmas lights were still up on the Anthem servers. So like a lot of games, much like in Destiny, they usually decorate the main area, the main hub that a lot of players kind of start off at. And, they had the Christmas lights out just to celebrate the holiday season, but unfortunately a lot of players kind of pointed out that they hadn't taken it down in February and it was still up, and I believe an article even said like the company has forgotten about Anthem, like so in regards to
maybe
Anthem,
they're just very passionate, maybe they just love Christmas.
Fucking love Christmas on that planet. But in regards to Anthem as a game, Anthem was a good, gorgeous looking game. There was a lot of mechanics that I did enjoy about it, but I remember straight off the bat that I got bored quick. Yes, I know, Kettle Black from the Destiny player, but I just felt with this game that there was nothing drawing me in or, making me want to continue playing. So the fact that in this post Hudson is kind of pointing out that element, like he's not saying that like, anything in regards to gameplay wise, like, like handling or character design or, world building, none of that needed work. He himself is saying that people need rewards. They need a need to come back. So if they can fix it, if they can see what they need to get done and fix it, I am willing to give Anthem another go. Saying that, I should probably pick up a $3 copy if they're just going to, drop a DLC.
They might
on
even
top
be
of
cheaper. They could even be like $1 right now. Who knows?
People might be just handing them out in the street, though. They might be in a box of cereal like old days.
Oh, can you imagine? Someone needs to bring that back. I miss the days of buying box cornflakes and getting Age of Empires or things like that in there. Like such a classic marketing maneuver by game devs back in the day.
Yeah, it's like who links up cereal with gameplay? But either way, I hope they are able to isolate what they need to fix. I hope they fix it, and I hope they come back guns blazing.
Yeah, me too. Like, I don't think the game is completely dead in the water. Like, we've seen countless games in that first year flounder. Like, as you mentioned, like Destiny's a big one. It sort of came out to some success, but it didn't really find its footing until the Taken King expansion came out, and then all was well with the world and righted wrongs and got fans keen again. Constantly
getting scrutinized. So they're a roller coaster of, redeeming when they're faulted. But yeah, like even like games like No Man's Sky. I mean, they're the ones that can prove that you can sometimes just come back.
Yeah, they just need to take a page out of the Ubisoft manual, really, and look at what happens with like The Division and Siege and things. Like they sort of have a bit of a bumpy initial release, and then in a year or so, their player base is hungry and rabid, and they're dedicated, and the game has evolved and become maybe what it was destined to be from the jump. So we'll see how it goes. Like I'm with you. Like if they can make the game meaningful and have a real sense of accomplishment, it'd be great, because it was just very much vanilla copy paste enemies over and over and over. Like I had no real care of going and killing this wave of enemies, or a lot of the bosses were very forgettable. There was no real massive memorable moments in the game. So if they can get a couple of pretty cool hooks in it where there is some real reward off the back of grind, then yeah, I think players will flock back. Like BioWare have a very committed fan base. I'm a card carrying member of said base, so I'll go back and give it a go. But fool me 3 times, that's on me. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, and the next little nugget, surprise to absolutely no one in the entire universe, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, their Battle Royale mode has apparently been leaked / confirmed / acknowledged / whatever you want to say. A couple of gamers out there have found various screens, have done some data mining, and confirmed that this mode is called Warzone. It's going to follow a pretty similar blueprint, I would dare say, to Blackout, which was in the previous Black Ops iteration. But yeah, more BR, not surprising. There is rumors this might be a standalone option where it could be bought on its own as just its own standalone entity, or it can be packed in with the full Modern Warfare experience. But we'll get, no doubt, a lot more information on this over the coming few months, because there is a lot of leaks popping up on this almost on the daily, with new screenshots and even players somehow glitched into the Warzone menu while trying to play Call of Duty the other day, which I saw, which is bonkers. So
that's great.
We'll see how it goes. I've got no real interest. I can't have too many battle royales going, and I've sort of planted my flag with Apex. Yeah. If I'm playing COD, I'm just going to be playing standard team deathmatch and domination and things. But surprise no one, right? What do you think? Any other opinions?
I don't think it's going to surprise anyone. Call of Duty Modern Warfare recently had a massive update. I think it was like a solid 60, 80 gigabyte download update. So bunch of new, I think there was a new character drop and then some new skins and, all the fun stuff. But on the center console of the menu, there is this kind of blanked out space. So there was a lot of speculation that's just for the Battle Royale mode. So it's kind of no duh, but it's an interesting way people have kind of obtained this sort of information. The fact that people have glitched in there is pretty funny.
Yeah. But no doubt this mode's going to be out very shortly. And on the back of that, there'll probably be a lot more microtransactions tied to it for more unique skins and gun charms and all that other crap that generates the cheddar for Activision and the other Battle Royale developers out there. So the last bit of news that I wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive on. So I've grabbed a news article from Tom Phillips at Eurogamer. But I want to ask you this, Miss Hart. Do you fancy owning a slice of video game history?
How much?
That is the question. So the infamous and ultra rare PlayStation SNES prototype, which was initially dug up in 2015, has finally been put up for auction. So a little bit more news and backstory on this. Nintendo and Sony's brief dalliance during the SNES era is reasonably well documented. It was a romance between the two, and it was on the cards with the intent of producing a disc-based console together. Before the liaison broke down and Sony struck out solo, obviously bringing out the Sony PlayStation shortly thereafter. But while the two were talking prototype, Sony PlayStation's SNES hardware was being tested, and one such unit made headlines in 2015 after turning up a little worn but still working. The console was uncovered by father and son Terry and Dan Diebold, part of a box of items which once belonged to a now bankrupt company named Advanta, which used to employ Olaf Olofsson, the boss of Sony Computer Entertainment, back in 1992 when talks with Nintendo were going on.
What a name.
Yeah, Olaf Olofsson. Yeah. It's fantastic. This prototype features both a disk drive and a SNES game cartridge slot and comes with a unique SNES controller which features Sony branding. Around 200 prototypes were made in general. Auctioneer site Heritage Auction states almost most have been junked. This particular unit is the only one known publicly to still exist. By far, this is arguably one of the most notorious, mysterious, and controversial artifacts of the video game industry, Heritage Auction's description notes. This prototype has been around the world and back again, admired and appreciated by video game enthusiasts from all over. Even though this is the closing of this portion of its narrative, it will continue to remain a pivotal piece of video game history no matter where it ends up. As the saying goes, it belongs in a museum, but here's hoping whoever picks it up also enjoys playing it. We at Heritage can attest the prototype is working, the auction site concluded, as we've played a couple of rounds of Mortal Kombat on it using a Super Famicom cartridge. The auction concludes February 27th of 2020. And to give you a quick idea, I don't know if you've clicked through to see how much it's currently going for.
No, it's a mystery for me. Let me see if I can guess.
Have a guess. So we've got the auction ends at the 27th of February.
Mm-hmm.
Have a guess what the current bid is at.
$10,000.
No.
Not
way higher.
Oh, shit. 50,000.
Higher.
What? 100,000?
Current bid in US dollars is $350,000.
Wow. I guess it makes sense because it's a one of a kind. hand, and it's an item, a product, a baby of two very important gaming companies. So I guess that makes sense. You're buying this little bastard embryo, so...
Like, it's a cool looking console. Like, obviously you can see it leans more towards the SNES form factor and design as opposed to the PlayStation, but it's so crazy. The fact that it's one of a kind, the only one working in the world today, allegedly, and yeah, game collectors from all over would be gone mad to get this in their collection. Like, and obviously you can see that's reflected in the current bid price, and we're still a few weeks out of when this closes, so that thing's going to go. Anyone that knows eBay and things, they know those last few minutes is when the bids really go.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I really hope that some kind of gaming museum, or like someone that's really going to look after it and maybe even have it on show for everyone else to see and experience and witness. Like, that sounds like where it should be. So we'll either see maybe either one of the companies, maybe either like Sony or Nintendo, maybe getting their hands on it, or maybe a museum, or we're just going to see one of those crazy collectors who's probably going to put their house on market just so they can get their hands on it to say, I have it.
Yeah, like, because this, you'd be the only person in the world, like, to have this. Like, this thing's been around since around 92 is the approximate date of this console. So it's a very, very old unit, 28 years old now. And yeah, these bids are no joke. Like, the minimum bid increment increase now is $10,000. So so $10,000 at a time this thing's going to go up at a minimum, with every sort of bid that's going to follow from this 350,000 US. So it's crazy.
Yeah, like, I mean, it makes sense too, because like anyone would be stupid and just throw bids in there. So I guess it's good that they have the 10,000 minimum, but like, I worry about where like items like this kind of goes. Like, it's pretty important. Like, it's a physical piece of like gaming history that something that didn't come to be. And
can you imagine? Can you imagine if that merger happened and they did co-release a console and the Sony PlayStation, like, it just became, I don't know, the Nintendo PlayStation or whatever it was, and they were just one entity now, and we only had them and Microsoft. Like, can you imagine the gaming landscape?
Well, like, so I'm assuming also around that time, what was Sega doing? They had the Dreamcast?
Yeah, they had the Dreamcast around this time. So Sega was still a thing. They were existing and still relevant in the hardware space. But what could have been, huh?
Yeah, no, like would have it been the competitive market? Would have we seen like titles and the progression of gaming and graphics and that competitiveness and how it just leads to better quality products, better quality graphics, better games, better, like, how everything kind of just evolves because of that competitive nature? Like, what would have that all just been hindered, or would have just gone beyond?
Like, if we would have got more of that Japanese influence off the back of Nintendo, where you look at a lot of their gaming history, they don't take, like, they take risks, don't get me wrong, and they've brought out some very, very special franchises over the years, but we've never seen them make something like The Last of Us, for example. Like, would Naughty Dog end up getting acquired by Microsoft, or if Sega was still a thing and it's a Sega-owned franchise, and we're still seeing these Sega consoles getting made in this day and age? It's all these things where you can sort of hypothetical thought processes of what may or may not have occurred. Like, it's very interesting to think about, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen, and look at where we are now, gamers. PlayStation isn't going to be at E3. Nintendo will be. Microsoft will be outside.
Yeah, and Jeff Keighley ain't rocking up to E3.
He's no longer doing, was it the Coliseum? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. First time that he's not going to be at an E3 in 25 years. So very big milestone for Mr. Keighley. And not at all surprised. Obviously, the ESA stuff just constantly shooting themselves in the foot and causing drama after drama after drama. No one has any faith in that organization anymore. So
No.
yeah, E3, they really need to pivot and get their sort of their affairs in order because they are on the downhill very quickly, and a lot of these online mini conferences, that's the way of the future. I think we can all agree that that's the way to go. The costs of running those is substantially less than doing a physical show that runs several days and moving staff, interstate for those few days, and build time and pack down and all that stuff. Like, yeah. But that's been the news for this week. I'm curious to see where this Nintendo PlayStation prototype ends up. Let's have a little guess. So it's at $350 US. What do you think the final price is going to be?
$350 US. Maybe we'll finish on 500. Maybe around there.
Okay, I'm gonna go 800.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
I'm gonna shoot my shot, and I'm gonna say 800, because what's stopping one of these rich millionaires or billionaires just going, you know what, I want this in my collection. I do not care. Like,
yeah,
like it's insane. Like I saw Mr. Amazon the other day just bought the most expensive property ever recorded in the United States or something. He spent like $250 million on a house in Beverly Hills the other day.
But hasn't he
9
been also?
acre thing.
He's been selling his shares though too, hasn't he? Yeah. So
yeah, got a new girlfriend now. Obviously, him and his wife have separated, and she made quite a hefty sum.
Good for her.
Yeah, but yeah, he 200. Can you imagine spending $250 million on a house?
I can't even imagine having the money for just a normal house anymore. Fuck the 2 million.
The world we live in. Eat the rich.
Yep.
But yeah, this has been episode 182 of the Hungry Gamers podcast. Anything you want to say or add or throw out there to listeners before we close this down for another week, Miss Hart?
I do. I want to drop 2 things. First of all, I did watch Birds of Prey. Now, after having kind of a to and fro with you and Jack last week, I just want to say that I did see the movie. I personally didn't enjoy the first half of it. I felt like it was very slow. It really kind of was all over the place. A lot of, like you said, a lot of editing choices that they made in getting that story across. However, there is a specific scene. I don't think it's a spoiler if I just say it was in a jail. And then I feel from that point it kind of picks up. My biggest concern originally for this movie was the characters and how they were going to be portrayed. They actually did very, very well doing their own interpretations of these characters. Black Canary and Huntress were great. I freaking love them. I can't wait for their movie spin-off. They're just adorable, lovable, not like, and I hate using this term, but like try-hardy, in-your-face kind of characters. You know how they really try to push a character onto you? I think they brought them in and it was done really, really well. So I'm actually really looking forward. They have really good organic kind of interaction as well, which is really hard to convey in a movie. So those girls did really good. Ewan McGregor did great. I apologize, I don't know the actor's name.
I loved him.
Yeah,
I loved him as Black Mask.
Yeah, and you know what? He remained consistent to the character. Like, you know how sometimes when they try to do a villain or a specific character, sometimes like the character's motives or like, you know, their personality traits kind of flutter all over the place just to suit story progression.
Yep.
They kept it with him. And I also want to say, as a person who loves like DC villains, I was worried about the look of Zaz, because usually he's portrayed, you know, shaved, barely wearing clothes and with, you know, markings
scars everywhere and what have you, yeah.
But I actually really liked this character. And like I said, they didn't flash it into your face too much about really his deep, you know, hatred of women and, you know, his kind of character, but they conveyed what he was about really, really well. The soundtrack is great. So that's what I'm going to say about the movie. A lot of people have been pretty upset, like, with me saying that I didn't enjoy it as much as everyone else did. But that's my honest feedback. And, you know, so that's where we can go with it. So I would agree with you though. I agree with you. I would give that about maybe a 6. But I just like where this can lead is what I'm going to take away from it.
I think ultimately it's a positive step for DC or the DC film universe at the very least. I agree exactly with what you said regarding characters weren't forced, like outside of Harley Quinn, who's obviously forced down your throat right from the jump through the entirety of the movie, almost to a painful degree at times, it felt like. But the rest of the characters, they just organically get sort of embedded into you throughout the movie. And Ewan McGregor was so committed to that role. I want to see him play villains in all superhero movies. Like, he was great. I really liked, he tiptoeing that line of insanity almost, it feels like, and just this rich, hyper-violent, mob member. But yeah, it's a good feast for the senses, that's for sure. And yeah, that's one thing I missed last week. The soundtrack is really great, and it keeps the movie going at a pretty cracking pace, especially for the second half.
Fighting choreography was pretty impressive. I actually really enjoyed the fighting scenes. So I also went to a fucked up cinema called 4DX where water sprays in your face and the chairs
like the big
move.
4D experience?
Yeah, because I'm like, if something's going to save this movie, it's adding that experience, but that's just a whole nother level. But I'm totally going to do it again, I think, for Fast and the Furious for shits and giggles. And my second thing was I watched the DICE Awards. I just want to bring across that the main thing from the DICE Awards that I got, unfortunately it's awkward. Like I kind of brought up before, like a lot of these shows are pretty awkward. But one of the consistent things that was said during the awards was a lot of devs were saying like thanks and apologizing for the amount of time that they were taken away from their families in order to make these games. So I just wanted to highlight that from the DICE Awards and just get us all out there as gamers just to remember what time and dedication go into being made these games, and some of the sacrifices devs are out there making, especially like the smaller ones. They're the ones that really got to put everything in. So just remember that, I guess, every time that we go out there and we criticize and we talk about a game, just remember all the sacrifices behind the scenes that are being made with that. So, and in saying that, Goose Game got Game of the Year somehow.
Yeah,
so
House winning Game of the Year at the DICE Awards. Like, I'll do the reads. So since 2015, Fallout 4, Overwatch, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, God of War, and the 2019 Game of the Year, Untitled Goose Game.
So
it's bananas.
It really is bananas. It's this level of kind of, you saw who they were up against, which is pretty much the same that they went against at the Game Awards. It's both levels of surprising but happiness. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's good to see the underdogs from Australia, a small indie studio about a goose that is just a bastard, winning Game of the Year. Like, it's crazy, but in this climate, Trump's president, Goose Game's Game of the Year. I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah, but overall, unfortunately, the DICE Awards was equally as awkward as we have come to expect. So, audience, I'm curious. Do you think we should be having all these Game Awards, or should we just have one, invest the money in it, and put some production value? I'm curious what people feel about these kind of semi-awkward events, and how we feel about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Game Awards, like Jeff Keighley's Game Awards. I think they're done probably as good as we get at the moment. There could be some improvements, but I think they've got the special sauce at the moment as far as the right formula for that. But yeah, we'll talk more about that and get a little bit of listener and fan feedback and see what they think as well. But yeah, this has been episode 182 of the Hungry Gamers podcast. As I mentioned earlier, please rate, review, subscribe us on all your podcast hosting platforms, because those reviews help keep the emotional lights on in our hearts. Once you're done reviewing us, be sure to review all the other members of the hashtag 8bit Collective, because it keeps us tracking, keeps us relevant, doesn't cost you anything, and it's just a very good deed to do. So pay it forward, please, listeners. But yeah, this has been episode 182. I've been Brendan. You can find me at Brendan8bit. That has been Ali. You can find her at Miss Ellie Hart. But until next week, 8bit Nation, for episode 183, or we may or may not have a special guest. Much love.
And stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective, over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.